More on the communist virus shutdowns. It is crazy. And poser Joe Biden is trying to gather a bunch of women to be on his team. He's pretending that he's the president already. An Iranian guy got taken out over the weekend or a Friday or whenever it was. This is the end of hour one of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. It is Monday, November 30th, 2020. Stay tuned for hour two. Jesse Lee Peterson will be right back. But first, Hake news, not fake news. The weather outside. CNN reports that the record-breaking Atlantic hurricane season ends today. Huh? Just in time for the first major storm system of the fall to affect about 15 million people in the southeastern United States. Halfway surprised they didn't complain about climate change. And the communist virus shutdowns. If you traveled over this Thanksgiving holiday, the so-called lame U.S. health officials want you to get tested for coronavirus, but that's up to you. Hospitalizations of COVID-19 patients in the U.S. reached a record high of 93,238 yesterday. Only? Doesn't sound that high. They're trying to convince you that the lockdowns work. In case you were leery, they say, of more safety measures, research shows infections in the UK have dropped 30% during the second national lockdown. And so has really their economy and their level of freedom and well-being. They have a small population. They're an island. By the way, Los Angeles Slimes tweeted that LA County, the SJW so-called health officials, issued a stay-at-home order taking effect today, Monday, prohibiting all public and private gatherings with individuals not in the same household except for church services and protests. That's an article called about this is all amid the COVID surge, right? They also infamously banned outdoor patio dining in LA County, except for Pasadena, based on zero evidence, brought to you by liberal women and blacks trying to run your life, right? And poser Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, and Kamala Harris announced an all-female wannabe White House senior communications team, assuming that they get in, which is a big assumption. They have not won at this point. Biden is set to name Janet Yellen as the first woman wannabe Treasury Secretary. Adewale Wally Adeyemo, who's president of the Obama Foundation in Chicago, may be the first black wannabe deputy Treasury Secretary under Joe Biden. Biden promised to address so-called economic inequalities in America, but the fake news media claims that the pandemic has only worsened wealth disparities and devastated low-income workers, which is false, as we all know. It's the needless shutdowns, Democrat and Rhino shutdowns that have destroyed people's income. Duh. By the way, the Epoch Times reports that Joe Biden fractured his foot while playing with his dog, so he's going to wear a boot for some weeks. He's 78. Somebody took out another Iranian dude in an alleged assassination of Iran's top nuclear scientist, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Considered a mastermind of Iran's nuclear program, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh's car, he had a car, was ambushed on Friday near Tehran. Iranian state media reports that Fakhrizadeh was shot by a remote-controlled machine gun to another car. Wow. Officials blame Israel and vow revenge, compared the incident to Trump's assassination of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in a U.S. drone strike back in January of this year. Trump pulled America out of Obama's ridiculous Iran nuclear deal. Obama's CIA director and Trump derangement syndrome sufferer John Brennan tweeted, "This was a criminal act and highly reckless. It risks lethal retaliation of a new round of regional conflict. Iranian leaders would be wise to wait for the return of responsible American leadership on the global stage and resist the urge to respond against perceived culprits." Kissing up to Iran, right? And pretending that Joe Biden is going to get in. He was called the father of Iran's nuclear bomb, at least if it were completed. I am James Hake. Now on to Jesse, hour two. I'm James Hake.